Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 9 of the Dragon Radar podcast. We are your hosts, Heeroh and Ajoten. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very, very well. As usual, I'm ready for a Dragon Ball discussion. How about yourself?
Me too, I'm also ready for a discussion, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's get started. Let's jump in with Roshi's rant.
This is Roshi's Rant.
This is Roshi's Rant, the segment of the podcast where we will deep dive into a particular topic regarding Dragon Ball. And today, we're talking all about the Dragon Ball Z specific movie villains and what we think about them, what we like, dislike, and yeah, let's just talk about them. Let's rank them. Let's see if we can do it. There's 10. I'll quickly run down all 10 and then we'll get started. So, in order of movies, we have Garlic Jr. from The Dead Zone, Dr. Wheelo from The World's Strongest, Turles from The Tree of Might, Lord Slug from Lord Slug, Cooler from Cooler's Revenge and The Return of Cooler, Android 13 from Super Android 13, Broly from The Legendary Super Saiyan, Second Coming and Bio Broly, Bojack from Bojack Unbound, Janemba from Fusion Reborn, and finally Hirudegarn from Wrath of the Dragon. So that was a mouthful. So, got to get started. Should we start with Garlic Jr.? What do you think about him?
I think Garlic Jr. He's very. I mean, he's cliche. It's a typical revenge story. I don't think there's anything directly wrong with him, I suppose. But basically, he kind of, the way he defeats himself is the most ridiculous thing ever. The way he beats himself is, I mean, he makes himself immortal, and he opens the dead zone. It's like, why? It's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. It's like, imagine Zamasu and Goku Black. Like Open did that in current Super. Like they did the one thing that could allow them to be defeated. Like it's insanity. And I think that's why Garlic Jr. to me is just such a terrible bad guy to have such just a blind spot. Like everything else about him makes him a decent, like he's got like he wants to get revenge. He has he's after Kami, so he's not after like Goku, which is quite interesting.
It's a change.
Because they're always after. It's always Goku, isn't it? And he's actually got his more immortality, and he's after his father's death, and it's something like we've never actually seen his father, so there's a tale, so to speak. There's interesting things there, but the fact that he does that takes so much away from me, and it just makes him so stupid, for lack of a better term. It's just like you were so interesting, and then to do something so ludicrously dumb. It's just like, why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but here's a bit of controversy on my part. I'm going to rank him number 1 straight away. I think he is the best of the movie villains. Simply because, like you said, he is really good. He's unique. And I honestly think the writing of the Z movies goes downhill very quickly. And the motives and the character of Garlic Jr. to me is very good. Like you mentioned, he's not after Goku. He is the only villain on this list who isn't after Goku, pretty much. He's after Kami specifically. And out of every other movie villain, they always go for the main character. And Kami is not a main character. He's hardly even a side character. He's like a third choice character. And he's the one that Garlic Jr. is after. And he is, I think, potentially, or maybe one of 2 villains who successfully wish to become immortal. He gets that wish, it works, he becomes immortal. And he is only defeated, like you say, because he opened the dead zone. But he opened it because he thought he was immortal. He thought no one's going to be able to stop him. It is a bit of stupidity on his part. But, you know, if I'm thinking I'm Garlic Jr. right now, I've just wished for immortality, I'm thinking, okay, well, I can't be beat. I'm immortal. Yeah, I'll open the dead zone. Let's put in my mortal enemy into the dead zone. Who's going to stop me? I'm immortal. He probably didn't think that, he could also wind up back in there. So yeah, it is a bit of a dumb part on his part, but he does succeed in using the Dragon Balls. He is immortal. He could technically come back at any time in Dragon Ball Super even. If they, for whatever reason, open the dead zone, he could escape and he's still alive because he's immortal. If they want to make him canon all of a sudden. But yeah, he's strong. He puts up a good fight, especially against Piccolo for a while. And it's overall, to me, it's a really solid movie. I really like it. And yeah, it is his own stupidity that costs him in the end. But as far as a movie villain goes, I've got to rank him highly, and I am putting him number 1. Oh, straight off the bat.
I think, to be honest, I think I'm very negative against all of them, if I'm honest. Because if I'm being honest, none of them are particularly good.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think there's any of them that I look at and I think, wow, that is a good. I don't look at them the same way I look at Beerus's film and think that is a bad guy, or the new Super Broly and think, wow, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
No, I look at them and I see them and I just think it's ridiculous. Bio Broly, how I think I'm being a bit harsh. I think Garlic has the correct. I think you're probably right. Garlic is the top of the list based on that. I would agree in terms of. I do like the fact that he does go for Kami and things like that. I think that is very much go in his favor. And especially, I probably would have liked to see more of, like, I know it's his father's death. I think it's interesting. It's like, I think that's a bit of a cliche though. Like, you killed my father, and it's like, yeah, do you know what I mean? yeah, basically. But it is interesting as well that he did actually get the immortality, because I don't think anybody did that all the way up until Zamasu.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but also I think out of all of the movie villains, him, Bojack, and Cooler are the only 3 I could see, if they were canon, they could have a full arc. The rest of the villains, they're like a mini arc, if anything. But Garlic Jr., I reckon you could get a full arc out of him. You could probably get one out of Cooler, and you could probably get one out of Bojack and his team. The rest of them, nothing. But yeah, Garlic Jr. I really like as a villain. I think he's really good. I like his motives. I like how he succeeds in his wish. They needed a way to defeat him, because that's how Dragon Ball movies go. There is a villain, they show him being really strong, and then they find a way to defeat him. And this is the only way that kind of makes sense. He got his wish of immortality. How else are you supposed to beat him apart from getting him trapped in the place that he came from? So, yeah. I think it works to me.
I think this, to me, is the equivalent of, it's, when you think about it, actually, it's what they did here is exactly what Super did with Zamasu.
Yeah.
They set up a really good immortality and a really good bad guy who they didn't really have a way to defeat, and then they screwed the pooch in the way to defeat them.
Yeah.
So they had the magic sword, and he turned into the sky for obviously Super, and for Garlic Jr., they basically made him trap himself.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been I think it could have just been an outright good film if they found a different way to do it.
Or even if someone else opened the dead zone, that would all they would need to do. If Kami opened the dead zone instead of Garlic Jr. opening it, then it would have been fine.
What's wrong with the evil containment wave?
All that? Well, yeah. Could have used that.
I mean, I know it's been done with Demon King Piccolo, but I mean, that makes sense. You can't defeat him, so
trap him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's what they tried to do with Zamasu. It makes sense. It would have made sense to do it in Super as well, but they decided not to for some reason. There are so many times that they don't go with the smart option, and I think this would have been a good time to do it. So yeah, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on Garlic, but I think it does sour it quite a bit for me that he did that. I thought it was a very silly way for him to be defeated. And I think it's the same with like the Goku Black arc is that entire arc is soured for me for how it ended, because I really enjoyed the majority of the arc until the end.
Yeah.
I think it's similar with this, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him. He is a good villain.
I can agree with the ending being a bit bad, and they could have changed just the minor thing of someone else opening the dead zone, and it would make sense a bit more. But overall, as a villain, I really love him, and I'm just being conscious that we have 10 villains to go through.
Yeah,
so let's move on.
Yes.
And okay, next up is Dr. Wheelo from The World's Strongest, who, in my opinion, is the absolute worst out of all 10 of these.
100% agree. Yep, he's a ridiculous villain. Makes zero sense. Just there's nothing to him.
He is a brain.
I don't get it. Yeah. He's not a villain. He's just this weird.
He's a scientist who, when he died, his brain got transported into this giant robot android thing, and that's it. He continues being a bit evil, and I don't like the idea of the villain. It was a nice callback to get Bulma involved a bit and interacting with another scientist, but also it's like, okay, but he's just a brain. that's it. That is what he is. I don't like him. I don't think he's a good villain. Definitely the worst out of all of them. It has to be.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. There's nothing to him. There's nothing to even talk about, if you ask me.
Yeah, same. Like it's not a good film. Nothing of interest really happens too much. Yeah, I guess let's just move on. We'll have more to talk about.
I'm happy to move on. There's just nothing there. There's nothing to him.
Yeah, I mean, we've got more to talk about on the more interesting villains. And speaking of one of them, next up is Turles from the Tree of Might. So this is an interesting one to me. But what do you think about him?
This might be a bit controversial, but I quite like Turles for a strange reason, and it's the fact that I think potentially Goku Black might not exist if Turles didn't exist.
I also think that. That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah, I think Turles is the inspiration for Goku Black.
Yeah, 100%.
I think there was. I think they liked the idea of it. I mean, look at him; he's Goku.
He's evil Goku. Yeah, that is right.
I mean, it's meme to bits before Super even happened. And the film itself isn't great, but the Turles himself is the concept I like, and I think that he's very important because of that, and I think because of his existence, whilst he in himself isn't that important, I think what he's created, having existed, is very important because he's led to Super, and I think because of that, I think he's very important. And that's why I do like him. I mean, at the same time, he's also not the worst. He's by far not the worst on this list.
No, definitely not.
And I think it is interesting, the strength that he gets from the fruit from the Tree of Might. I mean, the Tree of Might itself is a bit questionable, but the fact that he gets the power up is a bit unique. It's not something we've really seen before.
Yeah.
I do find it quite interesting. Yeah. It is it's a bit different, I find.
The whole story for me is bad. It's a bad story. And overall, I would say it's a bad film. But the character of Turles is at least decent. But the whole motive for this film is, they plant the seed in Earth, and the seed grows into a giant tree, the Tree of Might. And the roots are planted into the earth to suck the energy and the life form out of Earth. That is what the story of the film is. Turles is just another Saiyan. He's not related to Goku in any way, and it's just weird that they thought, oh yeah, let's make the bad guy look exactly like Goku. But he's got nothing to do with Goku, really. He's just another Saiyan. And
he's just a low class Saiyan warrior.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, literally the explanation of him, the description of it, a low class Saiyan warrior who has a very similar appearance appearance to Goku.
Yeah, and
Literally.
it makes no sense really why they made him look like Goku. I guess they just thought, oh, this would be cool to make him look like Goku. But apart from that, there's no real reason for him to look like him. But yeah, like you say, I completely agree with the fact he was the inspiration for Goku Black. People like Turles as a character, I think, overall, or his design at least. It's something a bit unique. He was definitely a trial of Goku Black, although at the time he was just the main Goku knockoff until Super came around. But yeah, they kind of realized, okay, we're not bringing back Turles, but we can kind of do something similar because, you know, the idea was there, an evil Goku. Let's try that again, like you mentioned. And yeah,
they smashed it.
They did. They smashed it. Second time round, it worked. But
Yeah.
first time with Turles, his attacks are pretty cool. His armor and look was okay, I guess. You know, the Saiyan armor on Goku, which you don't really see. That's pretty cool. But as a whole, I don't know. He's mid-tier for me on the list of Z movie villains. He's definitely not top, and he's definitely not bottom. He's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But overall,
for me,
he's okay.
For me, he's in the top quarter. For me,
yeah.
I think because of that, I think he's very important. He plays an important part.
Yeah.
He serves a purpose, and I find a lot of these villains don't.
Yeah, and you know, I guess he does eat the fruit, which makes him stronger. But without the fruit, he's nothing really.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's a low class Saiyan warrior. There's nothing special about him apart from the fact he looks like Goku. He eats the fruit to become strong, and that's it. If he doesn't eat the fruit, he's nothing. So yeah. But anyway, next up we have Lord Slug from the Lord Slug film, and yeah, what do you think about him?
He's another favorite, isn't he?
He's another interesting one. Yeah, what do you think?
I think, well, I mean, you covered it yourself, didn't you? Rank worst villain. I mean, we've covered it in a previous podcast. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing to. I mean, the film doesn't really make sense. I mean, he attempts to terraform to make the planet's atmosphere suitable for him and his kind, but I don't really get that. To me, it's Super Namekians. It's like, to me, when I think Namekians, I think of Namekians who I've seen previously, who I know, who don't have frozen worlds.
Yeah.
So to randomly change that confuses me and messes with my lore, and I don't like that. I like my established lore. Now, if you tell me that there's a different type, it's like, okay, but
why?
This needs to be in a story, not just in a random film out of nowhere. Like, you need to establish yourself somewhere, not just a random exposition drop. I mean, it was vaguely interesting to see him go huge Namekian and stuff like that, but that's about the best of what you got out of him, really. I don't see how any of it made sense. And basically, he copied
Demon King Piccolo completely.
Yeah, I want to be in my prime.
It was a complete rip-off. And
I
don't want to like rehash everything I said. If you want to find out everything, then go check out one of the previous podcasts. Yeah, Lord Slug is just Demon King Piccolo 2.0. He has the same motives. The only difference is he comes from a different planet. Well, I guess technically Demon King Piccolo does as well. But he comes to try and take over the world. He's got the same motives. He wants to be young again. He goes Super Namekian, all big, strong, evil, and gets defeated. And there's nothing unique or special about him in any way. And yeah, he is bottom. I was thinking Dr. Wheelo because he is just a brain, but at least that is something unique. Lord Slug has no unique qualities about him at all. There is nothing special. He doesn't bring anything new to the table, not even a unique story or anything. So yeah, Lord Slug, completely bottom for me. Yeah. Okay.
He's definitely fun. I mean, Dr. Wheeler causes me pain, physical pain. So he's not. Lord Slug's second from bottom for me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I agree, he's bad.
Yeah, moving on though. Next up, we have Cooler from Cooler's Revenge and the Return of Cooler. And to me, he's actually up there. He's not number one because I've said Garlic Jr. number one. But Cooler, Potentially second place. Definitely top 3 for me.
I agree with top 3. Yeah, I like the concept of Cooler. I think he loses points on Meta Cooler though. But Cooler himself as a concept, he's seeking revenge for Goku against Goku for killing Frieza. And it's like, at first you think, that doesn't sound very like basically what Frieza's brother would be like. But then it's not because he killed Frieza, it's for his family's honor.
Yeah.
That sounds more about right. Doesn't care about his brother, just cares about that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So basically you made my family look bad, so now I'm going to mess you up. That makes a lot more sense, and I like that because it keeps in kind with the type of people that Freezers are.
And you get to find out.
I can't remember the name of their species.
The frost demons, I think.
Yeah,
that's it.
But it's like it makes sense from their perspective that that's how they would view things. Not that they care about each other, but that they're looking to restore their honor more than anything else.
And it's nice because up to this point, still even to now, the only people of that race that you know of is Frieza and King Cold. You don't know anything else about their race. You don't know anything else about what their people look like or how strong they really are. If Frieza and Lord Cold were the only strong ones, who knows? King Cold, sorry. But we have Cooler, and I really like him just because of the things he said. He's not really too bothered about Frieza, but he comes to restore his honor and stuff. And he is good, and you also get to see him transform, just like Frieza. He goes into his second form, which is a big burly guy.
I like the second form.
He gets stronger, and also even with Metal Cooler, he's kind of merged with the computer, and he has the multiforms that he transforms into. Well, he kind of splits into, and that's also really cool to see. 100 Metal Coolers coming back for revenge, going wild. I really like it, and it's unique and different. Taking the multiform technique to the extreme.
Yeah, the mini fights in against Metal Cooler are quite interesting as well. Between Vegeta, Goku, and himself, and I do like the finishing move they do against the singular Cooler before they get captured, where they basically do the double punch to blow them up. With the double charge. I really like that attack. I really enjoy that attack. But the concept of the big Getty Star to me is just takes away so much.
Yeah, I don't like that. But I guess to bring him back, I had to think of something.
No, but it's just I think that's the thing. If they Cooler himself, I really really liked, and the whole concept was really really good. And I just think that the way they brought back Frieza robotically, I didn't really have an issue with that, too much. It didn't make a great deal of sense, but it wasn't too far out there.
Yeah.
But it shows that they could use cybernetics to bring someone back. Why couldn't they have done it again? But they have to use this weird computer cyber that he merged with in the sun and in outer space, and it's I think I kind of struggled to wrap my head around how it exactly works, and now all these robots listen to him and stuff, and they've enslaved these little inhabitants, and it's weird.
Yeah, Cooler overall though, for me, he's still up there, even if the Metal Cooler, the thought behind him is a bit bad. I think overall the motives, the introduction, the fights, and just him as a character overall, I really like. But yeah, moving on. Next up is Android 13 from the Super Android 13 film. So for me, Trigger Hat Android 13, he's just bad. He's not good. I don't like him as a villain. He's not at the bottom, but he's close to the bottom.
I'm going to disagree.
Really? Okay.
Basic 13, yes. However, the concept of him being able to fuse, how he looks afterwards fuse, I like his model afterwards. It's evolved state. The fact that they link back to something from Z as well, something so the supercomputer,
Yeah.
that they've actually. So it's actually they've looked back on something and said, okay, we had this, so there's still something there that we can utilize. I do like that form. I mean, it is a bit overpowered, but I do like the look of that. But yes, the original 13 in the weird truck I had, yeah, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of biased because I like me caps, but but I mean, the film's not great. Why does everybody love the snow?
No, it reeks of Cell a bit too much for me. Like
Yeah.
the fact that he can transform and absorb and all this stuff, and the only redeeming factor of Super Android 13 to me is the punch to the nuts. Bam! Goku is childless. Bye bye Goten. But luckily it's not canon, so Goten's still around.
But I do like. I think it looks quite cool. The fact that it can happen, and I just do like the form of how it looks.
Blanca
for
from
me
Street
that kind of
Fighter.
protects. Yeah, I mean, for me that kind of protects him from being that far from the bottom. I think he's very mid tier. I definitely don't think he's up near top.
No.
But I think it protects him from being near the bottom as much. But I think it's purely more an aesthetic.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
I guess so. Yeah. But let's move on. Next one up is probably the most controversial and one we'll probably have the most to say about, and that is Broly from Legendary Super Saiyan, which is his introduction, the second Common film, and then Bio Broly.
Yes.
So
we have to consider these all as one.
I guess you could technically class Bio Broly as his own, since it isn't.
How are we going to do this? Come on, how are we going to do this?
Right.
We're gonna think.
Okay, let's split them up, but let's talk about all three films at once.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's start from the start with his introduction.
Yeah.
So I hate the way he's introduced. I think he has terrible motives for being a bad guy, and but I absolutely love his design and how he looks. He is a slim, tall Saiyan with long hair. And, he's got all the nice jewelry and stuff to make him look royal, I guess. And I love his design. I completely love it. I think he is the best looking villain out of the original Dragon Ball Z film villains, which is probably why he got 3 films. But yeah, his motivation and just the fact that, he hated Goku as a baby because he cried a bit too much. And yeah, that completely ruins him.
Yeah. It's basically like it's kind of, again, it's the Garlic Jr. thing for me. It could make him. It takes what could be basically a really good bad guy and takes away so much from him based on one tiny silly little thing, just ruins the entire concept of the character.
Yeah.
But I do like the whole the aesthetic, like I mentioned earlier with Android 13, the aesthetic is fantastic, but the concept, the actual character, is silly because of that. Yeah. So bullying himself, but I mean, is the way he fights and everything like that in the actual film. Yeah, that's really good, and I do like that, and I think that's another saving grace for him.
Yeah.
So I think that puts him in the top area.
Yeah.
For it.
And I also like the fact that before he transforms and goes all rage, when they first meet him, he's actually like a nice Saiyan, because Saiyans are known for being ruthless and, planet conquering people, workers, slaves, I guess, to Frieza. And yeah, when you meet Broly, he's not like that. He's soft spoken. If anything, you might think he's pretty weak, even though he's like shredded, but he's thin.
He's very timid, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very timid, and I really like that. And when he transforms, he hulks up, and he gets that rage mode, but the motivation really, really just damages him too much for me, which is why it's not top villain.
And the problem is that continues on to what I would say we should look at when we do the second coming one now.
Yeah. They doubled down on the motivation of crying. Because If you haven't watched the film, he comes back to Earth in a space pod, and he's like kind of stuck in the pod for a few years. He's like asleep.
Goes into a coma for 7 years.
Yeah, and he wakes up because way, 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 way in the distance, he hears Goten crying, and that's enough to give him the PTSD that he had. And he wakes up, and he's like, "There's crying kids." No, 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 not on my watch. And yeah,
But not only is it crying children, it's Goku's child crying.
yes.
So in the first one, it was Goku crying. Now it's Goku's kid crying.
Yeah, it's like
So
he
they
knows.
just really don't like the Sun family's crying.
Yeah. Unbelievable. That's the motivation for him being around again. But this film, I don't really like. You know, I thought it was really good, the first one, even though the motivations were a bit bad. But this one, they doubled down. And then the main focus was with Goten and Trunks. And I just didn't like it. It was just a rehash. There was nothing new about the character. There was nothing special about this second film. It was just to let Goten and Trunks have a bit of a run around on a film for a bit. But as far as progression for Broly, there's nothing. He reverts, if anything, he just goes back to being Rage Broly straight away just because he hears crying. There's nothing new about him, nothing interesting about him in this one. So as a film, I would say this one's pretty bad.
Not the worst Broly, though.
Not the worst Broly, but the worst Broly is Bio Broly. Yeah, we don't even need to really talk about why he's the worst. But I guess we need to. So,
Swamp Thing Broly.
Yeah, Swamp Thing Broly. So basically, Bio Broly is just a clone of the original Broly that's made by Lord Jaguar. And, you know, his body gets deformed by this culture fluid and it becomes corrosive to air, which is why, like, he turns into Swamp Thing Broly, and it's just terrible. From what I remember, I don't think Broly speaks in this film. He just like goes rah, rah, and screams a bit. Yeah, but he doesn't speak, from what I remember. And yeah, it is just Rage Broly back again with a very, very worse look. And it isn't even Broly, it's a clone. So there's nothing good to say about him.
I don't understand why they took that route. Like,
yeah, I don't get it. Like, Broly was everyone's favorite villain just because of his look and style, I guess. Mm-hmm. Which is why they did 3 films with him. But then they ruined it with the third one because they thought, well, what can we do? What should we do? We want to bring him back for a third, but let's try and make him a bit unique.
But the thing is, like, this is not like a... Like, I'm looking back, this just isn't a Dragon Ball thing. This weird radioactive choice. It's...
Yeah.
Like, why really, like, radiation type crows? It doesn't really make sense to me.
No.
Like, you know.
No, I don't really get it. And even Lord Jaguar doesn't really do anything special in the film. They're both defeated. You know, Broly's defeated by the air, pretty much, because he corrodes too much. And yeah, it's not a good character. If anything, it just hurt Broly as a character more than anything else. And that's probably why they didn't bring him back. And then in Super, they decided, let's just start again. We had a good thing going. People liked Broly and we ruined him, so let's just start again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm glad they did, because the new Broly is the best Broly.
And much like Turles and Goku Black, smashed out the park.
Yeah, although I kind of do wish they kept the original design, because I really, really like the design of Thin Broly. But it kind of makes sense to have like a big bulking Broly turn slightly bigger instead of a very thin Broly turn giant, I guess.
I don't know. I think I prefer the new model, to be honest.
Really?
I think it's kind of a... With the whole Sheila thing, you've kind of got the Tarzan and Jane thing going on.
Yeah.
Like, she's kind of like, you know, bringing him, like, what's the word? Like, bringing him into civilization and everything like that.
No,
Kind of makes
I like
sense.
it. I like
Yeah.
I completely love the new backstory of Broly.
Yeah.
It's just the actual design. I much prefer the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that's just personal preference. Yeah, I do miss Skinny Broly, and that's never going to be seen again. But
No.
yeah, unless he decides to lose a lot of weight when he's training on Beerus's planet in this new film coming up, who knows?
Unlikely with the amount of food that lot eats.
Yeah, that's very true. But next up, anyway, after Broly is Bojack, and to me, he's also in top 3. I love Bojack as a villain. He is a bit unique, you know. He was sealed away by King Kai, and he was released when Cell blows up the planet, which is cool to see. He's just an evil alien, and he's coming to get some revenge now he's free again, and he has his team of alien cronies behind him. His alien cronies, not so good, admittedly. Don't really like any of them. But Bojack as a whole, I think he's pretty cool. Space pirate.
I do like Bojack. I agree. I think I like his aesthetic. I actually like the way he looks. I would argue he has one of the better looks.
Yeah,
I
think so too.
I think there's a lot of thought been put into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can argue that a lot of them are very plain. For instance, if you look at 13, his trucker version beforehand, it's just a vest.
Yeah.
Whereas with Bojack, it's like there's a full on get up.
Mm-hmm.
So they look like they've put some thought into it before they put him out. And there is lore. There is a full on lore behind it. They refer back to Z. It actually makes sense. Like the destruction in the other world with Cell's King Kai's world, it's the sort of thing that would make sense. I can see that it's enough of an exposition drop that you don't have to think too much behind it, because we don't know enough about that part of Z to say that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, there's enough for us to go, okay, I can get with that. Yep, I'm fine with that.
I think
so it's a nice balance.
Yeah,
so
I think as a villain, he is the one on this whole list that could have been canon easily. They could have easily made an entire arc out of Bojack straight after the Cell Saga, because it works and it makes sense. I understand why it's a movie, but they could have easily dragged this out as Bojack being the next big bad instead of, well, before Boo, I guess. Like, they could have had them be released, him recruiting his team members and causing trouble, and then a full arc of defeating the team members one by one before finally taking on Bojack himself, and good fights all round, I guess. It could have worked. It worked with Vegeta and Goku, Vegeta and Nappa, where there was a minion that would get rid of first. It worked with Frieza and the Ginyu Force. It could have worked here with Bojack and the Hera clan. And
you would have got to see Gohan flex a bit more.
Yeah.
So you would have got to see more of him rather than just immediately peaking and ending. You would have got to see him be Earth's defender a bit more before Goku returns and Super straight away. And then, so it would have nice to have actually seen Gohan be made Earth's defender and have to defend the Earth properly.
I understand why they didn't do it, because they decided, let's keep Goku as the main character instead of turning on Gohan instead, which makes sense, but also they could have done it without him for an arc, just to see what it would be like. Goku could have still been there doing stuff on the other world or whatever, just like he was for a lot of the Frieza saga, just with King Kai and all the Snake Way stuff that he did and going to hell and all that stuff. They could have had him stuck there or doing something. Who knows? They could have even maybe brought him back if they really wanted to. But it would have been nice to see Gohan do stuff. And I like Bojack. I think he's good.
Well, it could have been the reason they decided to bring him back for Boo. They could have basically, rather than just, oh, there's a tournament, you've been really good, you can come back. It could, like, Gohan could have won, but he could have only just won by himself, and they could say, okay, yeah, I won, Dad, but I don't think I'm quite ready yet.
Yeah,
I think I need your help still. And he can come back, and it makes sense. So it's like so there's a legitimate reason for Goku to be back So they invite him back. So yeah, Gohan's had his time, and it flows better, rather than it's just like, oh, Goku's back, great.
Yeah, or even if they did it so like Gohan can't win without Goku, and Goku comes back and teaches Gohan something, maybe a new move or maybe anything really, and Gohan still gets the win, but he can only do it because of Goku, and then that makes Goku be like, okay, well, I need to stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's BoJack.
No, I approve of BoJack.
I really like BoJack as well. Definitely top 3, maybe second for me behind Garlic Jr. But anyway, moving on. We have 2 left. Next up is Janemba from Fusion Reborn. What do you think about him?
Oh, no.
No.
He just doesn't make sense.
He doesn't. No, I hate Janemba. I think he's a terrible, terrible villain. One of the worst. Not the worst, but probably maybe like 8th or 7th out of the 10. The only reason is because it's stupid. The way he comes about is completely stupid. You know, we have an
angry teenager.
Yeah, it's a teenage ogre who's working in hell. He's like an intern type thing. You know, the evil soul's tank kind of explodes and the evil energy consumes him, and he turns into this fat blob Janemba. And I think fat blob Janemba is terrible as a whole. Yeah, he can distort reality and all this stuff, but his look is stupid. He doesn't speak, he just like kind of whines. And then even when he transforms, okay, I'll give Janemba something for this. When he transforms into thin Janemba and he actually fights and stuff, I like the look of him and I like his techniques. I love the way he kind of distorts reality to be able to move around and disapparate and come back together and all this stuff. He has really cool abilities and attacks. But as a character, terrible. And he doesn't speak, so he can't. There's no character growth. There is no real sense to why he's there, and he goes away just as quick as he appears. So yeah, terrible villain in my eyes, and probably the worst Dragon Ball Z film potentially, with everything else that happens in it, with Hitler appearing, and everything else. The bad animation, like it's probably the worst animated one.
Awful. Yeah,
but it does have Gogeta in it.
For like 3 seconds though.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest problems for me is that the reasoning behind his motivations for being a bad guy is it's a teenager and he's a bad guy because a tank of evil souls explodes on him. So he's not a bad guy for Cooler's reasons of the revenge of his family. Nope. He's not reasons for escaping from King for being locked away, or or revenging for his father like Garlic Jr. No, evil souls.
Yeah,
it just makes zero sense whatsoever. It's just literally, this is a bad thing that makes him bad.
Yeah,
it's lazy writing as well. And and we've discussed this a million times. There's nothing I hate more than lazy writing.
Exactly.
So it just annoys me. So I do not like Janemba. He has, and like I do like his techniques. I agree with the technique side of things. Gogeta is a little bit of a saving grace, but
it's still a bad film.
Literally, he's in it for 3 seconds. Yeah. Literally, he turns into Gogeta and beats him in 3. Yeah, it's literally about, I think it's about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and Janemba's defeated.
And then he turns back into a teenager. Yeah. And then that's it. End of the film.
Yep.
Yeah. But finally, we have one more villain, which is Heeroh from Wrath of the Dragon, who to me is an interesting one because he doesn't really fit the bill like all of the other villains in the list, because I kind of see him more of like an animal rather than a person, if that makes sense. You know, he doesn't have any motivations which are unique or special in any way. He's kind of like a wild animal where he's just around just to cause destruction, and that's it. That is what he is. Think of him kind of like a dinosaur, you know. There's no good or bad dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are just dinosaurs, and they do what they gotta do. And this is kind of what Heeroh is. He's this giant monster who's released, and he causes havoc, and that's all he does.
Yeah, because it's about preventing Heerogan, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which they failed to do.
Mm.
Like, so it's like, yeah. So you always knew it was going to be released. It's a Dragon Ball movie. It was always going to happen.
Yeah.
But the concept of it was that you got to stop that happening. And so they didn't really focus any experts because he wasn't always there as the bad guy, so to speak.
Yeah.
There was no reason for them to really give them any exposition. It was just going to be a bad guy. So when finally there and present, didn't need a voice, didn't need it, just roar and destruction, like Godzilla style.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really all you can consider is fighting and aesthetic. Really.
And the aesthetic, I think he looks pretty bad, if I'm honest. He's one of the he's the least memorable villain out of this list, I think. But this film as a whole is probably maybe my favorite Dragon Ball Z film. Just because, you know, it has Tapion in it, it shows you Trunks getting the sword, it shows Goku Super Saiyan 3. There's a lot of good stuff that happened in this film, and there's a lot of cool fighting in it as well. Just overall, the villain isn't very good. But with all the hints throughout the film that Tapion might be the bad guy and stuff, and all of the interactions with Trunks, who's my boy, he's my favorite character, I really like this film. But Heerogan as a villain, mid-tier. Nothing special about him, but
I think
he's just there.
Like, it's just because there's nothing to him. It's like not necessarily good or bad. It's just
he's all power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just there's nothing to make them of note. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose that protects them from being lower down in the list.
Yeah. So I guess we've ran through all 10. So let's just wrap up this segment. Let's do top 2, bottom 2. Who you going with?
I think I'm going to give. I'll let you do yours first.
Right.
I'll let you, and I'll have a think.
That's fine. So my bottom 2, the worst of the worst, is Lord Slug, just because there's nothing unique about him. Second bottom has to be Dr. Wheeler, just because he's a big brain, but he's at least unique, and it's something different. Top 2 though, gotta be Bojack, and then number 1 is Garlic Jr. Has to be. I love Garlic Jr. I think he's great. And yeah, apart from the ending of the film, I think he's a really cool villain, really cool origin story, really unique, and he succeeds at using the Dragon Balls, which doesn't happen much. So I gotta give him number 1. But yeah, what about you? What do you think?
So I think you give a good talk. After we had a chat, I think I've been too cruel to Garlic Jr. So I'm going to go with, I do like Cooler. So despite the concept behind the Big Getty Star and everything like that, I'm going to give Cooler as a character the number 1 spot.
Yeah, understandable.
And I'm going to give Garlic number 2.
Yeah.
The number 10, the worst, is Bio Broly. Because I'm upset.
Oh, yeah, maybe I should. I'm not making him worse than Lord Slug. But yeah, maybe he is worse than Dr. Wheeler. Maybe he can be 9th.
And then number 9, Dr. Wheeler.
Yeah.
I would end up going Lord Slug.
Yeah. Fair enough. But this has been a really, really long segment. So let's move on now to the Hall of Fame.
Let's go.
And now it is time for the Hall of Fame.
And now it's the part of the podcast which is the Hall of Fame, where each week myself and Heeroh battle it out to see who is most worthy to enter the Hall of Fame. Last week was the best outfit, and let's see who won. I chose the Bad Man for Vegeta, and yours was Post Boy Piccolo, correct?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Style icons right there. So it was one I was expecting to be a bit closer, but unfortunately wasn't. The winner, with 76% of the vote, is Bad Man Vegeta. And yeah, I've got to give it to you. He was my second choice, like I mentioned. You know, I had both of them down as my picks anyway. And I can see why he won. He's more memorable and more well-known than Post Boy Piccolo. So yeah, fair play.
He's the bad man, that's why.
He is. Style-wise, I still think Piccolo edges it.
Nah.
He
Like, he
does.
can't be the bad man.
But it's just the
Name
fact.
says it all. Name says it all.
Yeah, I guess it's just the fact as well that the Piccolo outfit was around for one filler episode, and the Bad Man Vegeta outfit is iconic. It's the arguably the biggest arc in Dragon Ball Z. It's a well-known costume as well, so yeah, fair play.
I mean, you can even get a Funko of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Which
fair
I
play.
actually might have to get purely because I won the Hall of Fame with it. So
I
I'm gonna
have
get
it. I have it. I can't get it right now,
You should
but
give
I
it
do
to
have
me as
it.
a victory.
I do
As a
have it.
victory trophy.
Yeah.
But for this week, we decided to go with the best character growth for a supporting character.
Yeah.
Now, we decided for supporting character, we didn't just want to say go other than Goku.
Yeah.
That would be a bit too easy. Everyone would just say Vegeta.
Mhm.
So we decided to say no Goku, no Vegeta, no Trunks, and no Gohan.
Yeah.
We would say they're all too close to having way too much focus on themselves.
Yeah.
That they've all been main characters at some point.
Yeah. Gohan had the whole Cell saga. Trunks had multiple times, I guess, Android saga and the Back to the Future saga.
Yeah, he's had Z and Super.
Yeah.
Where he's been high focus.
Yeah. So
Vegeta.
yeah.
Vegeta's
had loads throughout, but we ruled out those 4 characters, and since you won, you can go first. So who do you think had the best character growth out of everyone else, I guess?
See, I've actually got 2 and they are literally matched.
Hmm.
So you're lucky. So if I've picked yours, I'm happy for you to have them, and I'll go to my other
I've got a
choice.
backup. I'm prepared, but
you're happy. You're happy.
My main one, I'm hoping I can use, but let's see anyway. Who are you going with?
I am going with the Turtle Hermit himself.
Oh,
Master Roshi.
All right, that's a surprising one. Okay, yeah.
This gentleman has been around since OG, since before OG.
Yeah.
He's been here since throughout. I think a lot of people, they've been here since Z. It's the most common for a lot of people, I would say. And I think because of that, I would say he doesn't get as much as respect as maybe he should. I think throughout Z, he teetered off quite a bit.
Yeah.
But throughout Dragon Ball original, he was the main man.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. I mean, he was there through the original Demon King Piccolo. He was there when he was originally put away. He worked alongside. There was working alongside Shen. He fought alongside Gohan, original Gohan. He was there with he's seen Child Goku. He trained Krillin and Goku.
Yeah.
He's the original user of the Kamehameha. He's over 300 years old at the inception of Dragon Ball. How can this man not be considered? And he's still going now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had such development throughout. He's entered every tournament nigh on. We've discussed this he came in as Jackie Chun.
He won the tournament.
Yes, he kept Krill out. He's had Goku. He's handed it to pretty much every Z fighter in some capacity. He's always been here, and I just think it's disrespectful not to recognize that. And I think it is kind of sad that in Z it did teeter off, that he just basically became this pervy old man.
Yeah.
And I think that he coming back to Super, I think they've looked at it and they've said that
he's a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Let's fix him.
And in Super, he's done a lot.
He has.
He's came back strong, and I looked in it, and in the Tournament of Power, he arguably did more than any Z fighter.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah.
Out of the Z fighters, at least, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he did so much that he managed to get Beerus, God of Destruction,
impressed.
to say, impressed. Yeah. Krillin didn't do that. Ken didn't do that. Piccolo didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that is impressive. He literally nearly gave his life to do that. He took out people left, right, and center. He was on point.
Mm.
And he had arguably arguably the most emotional moment in Super. I would say he stuck that.
Mm.
When
Yeah,
he,
definitely.
yeah, I think when he Kamehameha used the last of his energy, Goku had to use the energy CPR to bring him back to life. I think that was a brilliant moment for me. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I think he during Resurrection F, when he's fighting Frieza's minions, I think it's a great flex where you get to see, it's just seeing huge Roshi again. Yeah. It's just great. And I just think I really, really like that they brought back proper Roshi rather than him just being the pervy old man in Z.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, I don't know original Dragon Ball as much as I'd like. I've seen a lot of it. I do wish that I'd seen it in its entirety, and I'm going to. I know a lot of it, but I want to see it all fully to truly appreciate the Turtle Hermit.
Yeah.
But I can truly recognize that this is a man who's gone from the start. He's basically, he is responsible for everything that's happening now. Without him, we wouldn't have our little boy Wonder.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have our little traveling adventure monkey boy, and turning, like, he trained Goku. I mean, he was the one who showed him the Kamehameha. Well, he cheekily copied the Kamehameha. He saw him do it, and then he copied it.
Yeah.
Which is a bit cheeky because it was the reason he chose to train him. But he's always been about, and I think Z did him dirty a little bit, but I think it's finally, now that they're bringing him back, they're recognizing it and they give him some love. And I mean, the reason that he entered the Tournament of Power, they actually said that he's been secretly training, and that he didn't just train for the Tournament of Power. It showed that he'd always been training just in the background, and that's why they took him.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're hinting that they always want him secretly there in the background to be used.
Yeah.
And I like that because it means that we might see more of him in the future.
Yeah. I really like that as well. Like, I kind of, in a way, even though I love Master Roshi, I think he's an incredible character, I kind of wish he did die in the Tournament of Power. Oof.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, like he had such a massive, massive episode. The saddest moment in Dragon Ball, the most heart-wrenching moment in Dragon Ball. And there was the rule in place where you can't kill anyone, otherwise you're disqualified. And no one does that. No one does that. There isn't a single death. And Master Roshi, out of all people dying, would have had the most impact, 100%. They teased it in this episode. Everyone thought he was going to die. I think it would have been kind of even better if he did. Even though I like him.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
Everything made sense. They were pointing towards him dying, and maybe they had already done all of this writing and decided, yeah, we're going to kill him, and then at the last minute decided, actually, let's not do that. After they'd already done everything else, who knows? I don't know. But I think it would have been good to see him die.
No. I just think there's been so much from the Turtle Hermit that he's been here to have been here from the start, been one of the original characters, and to still be here now, running so strong, and to have come back with such a powerful, as strong as he has. Like, I was tempted to pick Krillin, but it's more the fact that Krillin's always been here, and the fact that Roshi's came back so strong is what stood out to me. Is that he had such an impact in the original Dragon Ball, and that he basically made Goku literally, and the fact that he was there in the original fight, the most important fight of Dragon Ball, to then come back so strong in the most pivotal fights where he was clearly outmatched in the Tournament of Power, and to hold his own to such an amazing degree, that is growth to me.
Yeah,
that you can't keep him down. he's that old. You just can't keep him down, and I just think that's impressive. I'm really impressed, and yeah, so that's why he is my pick for the Hall of Fame.
Fair enough, and I'm proud of you right now. I'm so proud. You picked someone from original Dragon Ball. You explained it well. So proud. But you mentioned my pick. My pick is Krillin. And
Had a feeling.
yeah, I'm going to explain why. And there's a lot of stuff that people won't know about Krillin because of the stuff that happened in original Dragon Ball. And he has changed a lot throughout, from the start to the very end to now. There's a lot of stuff happening. So, the first time you're introduced to Krillin, you see him as this bald, jealous little angry kid. And it's because he is kicked out of the Orin Temple because he's the worst fighter there. He's bullied, he's the youngest one, he's not very powerful, he's not very strong, and he leaves because he's tired of being bullied, and he's an angry little kid who just wants better. And he goes to see Master Roshi with a stack of like women's magazines and stuff to try and convince him to train him. Because Krillin also says to Master Roshi, like, look, I want to get strong so I can like basically say ha to these bullies, and also because he wants to get women. That's why Krillin does it, you know. He's kind of a bit like, yeah, I want to get women and all this stuff, and that's why he wants to train, and that's why he wants Master Roshi's help, because he knows Master Roshi is also motivated by the same things. So Krillin starts as that type of character, and it's like, that's very different to the Krillin of now. And even throughout the start of Dragon Ball, Krillin has this one-sided rivalry with Goku, where he's constantly trying to defeat him, he's constantly trying to one-up him. He doesn't like Goku at all. If anything, he hates Goku. He hates the fact that there's this other kid that's also training with Master Roshi, who's slightly better than him at everything. And, you know, Krillin is constantly trying to prove that he can keep up with Goku and trying to outsmart him and stuff, because Krillin sees Goku as this idiot jungle boy who, you know, doesn't deserve to be around with him, doesn't deserve to be training with him. And that's why every time Master Roshi puts them against each other, Krillin tries to cheat to win. And he does so a few times. He cheats on missions that the two go on together, but he's constantly trying to keep up with him. And it isn't until the first martial arts tournament where Krillin kind of has a change of heart and he realizes the good in Goku and they become friends. But up until that point, Krillin was this nasty little kid who's trying to cheat and like play dirty and all this stuff, wanting to train to get women and everything like that. And it is really good to me that even though Krillin becomes more of a good guy, he still in a way keeps those motivations as he gets older and moves into Z. Because a lot of people did start with Z and they'll know Krillin as like the ultimate good guy, I guess, you know. He never does wrong. He's a pure-hearted guy, constantly fighting the good fight. But you've got to remember, he's also still motivated by women. And that's why, you know, he meets Marin. And, you know, he's showing off. He's buying all these clothes. He's buying the fast car. He's got the expensive suits on. He's spoiling Marin, buying everything she wants. And it's like, yeah, this is the Krillin from original Dragon Ball. This is what he wanted to be. And he succeeds in that. And that's character growth right there. He manages to train. He gets strong. He grows older and wiser. He does become a nice guy, but also he still keeps them roots. He gets what he wants in the end. And that's what he gets with Marin. And then he realizes that's kind of not what he wants, because he thinks this isn't working. This is a waste of time. This is bad. And splits up with Marin and continues just being a good fighter. He decides to focus on himself and becomes a good fighter. And then Android 18 comes along and he's like, oh, that's a nice android right there. I like that android. And then he's kind of reverts a little bit and he gets stuck thinking about women again. And it almost costs the entire planet because he decides not to blow up a woman who he finds attractive.
Yeah. Yes, he stamps on the remote of the detonator.
He does, and you see Krillin. He starts his story being motivated by wanting to become strong to impress women, to completely being overloved. Well, not overloved, but he's completely in love with this android who he hasn't even really talked to at this point. He just finds her attractive, and he almost costs everything because of that. And
to be fair, he did get a kiss on the cheek.
He did. And that was enough for Krillin to be like, right, my motivations have changed. Screw the Earth. I know what I want. And it's not very pure. And yeah, you see him go. He's still fighting the good fight. Throughout all of Dragon Ball, he is helping out at every single point, getting stronger, putting his life on the line against every single villain. Even in the Red Ribbon arc in original Dragon Ball, almost dying to General Blue, he's constantly putting himself in the front line, becoming stronger. And yeah, you still see that characteristic of him wanting a good woman in his life, though. And then, after the Cell Saga ends, you see him change again, because it goes from being that man who's trying to just spoil the pretty woman and it doesn't work out for him, to actually settling down a bit. He's found the right woman now. He has found exactly what he wants. He becomes a family man. And he starts a family with 18. He has baby Marin, named after his ex. That's a bit strange, Krillin, but okay.
Yeah, I've never understood that.
Yeah, and then...
Did they just forget about that?
I think so. I think it's kind of like the launch thing, where it's like, who's Launch? It's like, Marin seems like a good name. I can't remember Marin. Let's use that. But yeah, he has a kid. He has a wife who he loves so much, and he's constantly showing her off. And he's constantly showing how strong she is. And yeah, he finds a female who's better than him, and he loves that, and he's constantly wanting to do right for her. And he shows that he's a good guy even more by becoming a policeman. He does a good thing with his strength. None of the other Z fighters really, they're constantly training to save the Earth. Krillin, in his free time, decides, you know what, I'm going to try and help Earth even more by becoming a policeman. And he's great at his job. He's stopping crime constantly. And then in Super, when the Earth gets under threat again, he decides, okay, I need to stop my job to save the Earth. Let's go all out. Let's go back. Let's shave the head. Let's train again, and let's help out. And yeah, that's why I love Krillin. His character arc is great. He goes from just being this angry little kid to trying to find the right woman and finds the wrong one, to finding the right woman, becoming a family man, settling down, getting a job as a policeman to help save the Earth, and then putting his life on the line again in the Tournament Power. It's a full circle. He will constantly do what he can to help out. And I love that. Great arc.
It is. I had a feeling that it might be that. I had a feeling you either might pick Roshi or go with the Krillin. I knew you would go. I thought you would go early. I thought you would go Dragon Ball. It would definitely be someone Dragon Ball based.
Yeah.
Because I thought it could be Yamcha, because he started as a bandit and he misbehaved but he's gone off now. He's silent now. That's the problem.
He doesn't progress enough, which is why I said he's the character who deserves more the most.
Yeah.
So I can't say he's had good character growth, because he hasn't. He's constantly stagnated. But my backup was actually Bulma, because
weirdly enough, I thought Bulma a lot as well.
Yeah, she starts off as just this kid who wants to get a boyfriend, and she's really smart, but she's also pretty dumb at the same time. She's very good with technical stuff, but she's
like ditzy.
Yeah, in the streets, she doesn't know what she's doing. And she grows up, becomes ultra smart, and she's a big asset to the entire team, constantly making new gadgets, world's most wealthy woman, all this stuff. And she becomes a strong character after she settles down with Vegeta and has a kid too, while still being a good character on the show. So yeah, she was my backup, but Krillin takes a number one spot for me.
She's never really faded into the background, despite never being a fighter on a show that revolves around martial arts and fighting. She's never in any arc disappeared.
No,
even in an arc that's on a different planet.
Yeah. which is crazy, and that shows how good of a character she is. Like, she doesn't fight ever, not even once. She gives out the occasional slap, but apart from that, that's it. And she's still around, and she's great.
No, she's. I think she's been present in every arc.
Yeah,
that I can
think
think
she
of.
has. Yeah, I think you're right.
Which is impressive. But no, I approve. Mine was going to be Piccolo for obvious reasons.
Yeah, Piccolo changes a lot.
Yeah, the son of the rival, son of Demon King Piccolo, the rival.
Yeah,
turning into the ally, the mentor. Obviously, the arc that he builds. But no, Roshi felt he deserved it.
Yeah, and to me, like every Hall of Fame that we do, I'm either backing myself or when you say your pick, I'm thinking in the back of my head, even though I've got to argue my point, I'm thinking, yeah, I kind of know who's going to win this. And there's been times where I think it's close, but still I'm thinking, I've got a feeling I know who's going to edge it. This one, I really don't know. It could go either way. And I don't have a strong feeling or even a slight feeling on who could win. Both characters are really loved. Both characters are side characters. Both characters have grown a lot. So, yeah, I don't know how it's going to go.
I think this depends on who engages more within the polls, whether or not it's original Dragon Ball or Z watchers, things like that, or if it's Super.
Even if we're not counting original Dragon Ball and people are just taking it from Z and Super, which most people do, if I'm honest, there's still a lot of growth from both of them. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But anyway, if you want to vote, go check out the polls. Check out our social medias down below to get voting and take part. And we will see next week who enters our illustrious Hall of Fame. But it is time now to move on to the hot take.
Let's go.
Hot take.
So this is Hot Take, the segment of the podcast where I've searched online for a take about Dragon Ball, whether that be good, bad, or in the middle. And today, we have a quick one, probably, and it's all got to do with Gohan. So, I'll read it out. Yeah. This person has wrote online somewhere saying, writing-wise, Cell Games Gohan is the second worst written instance of the character in the entire series, behind only Buark Ultimate Gohan. Him literally refusing to fight Cell, the villain who he would be stronger than in Super Saiyan alone if he used his full power, makes no sense. Against Dodoria, Recoome, Ginyu, and even Frieza, he didn't hesitate to go all out the moment others were getting hurt / nearly killed. Yet he freezes up against Cell even after getting angry due to the fact that due to the Cell Juniors beating down his friends and family under Cell's instructions to kill them. Why? Because there was an expectation for him to perform. And that's the take. That's it. So he thinks, yeah, Gohan, it was stupid of the fact that he wouldn't go all out, whereas he did previously.
But that's not why. The reason is that he was afraid of if he unleashes his power, he won't be able to reel it back in. That he'll just go too far and he'll enjoy it too much, and he'll become too dangerous. He knows that he's got this latent power, and he knows that he's afraid of it. He knows it's there, and he's afraid of it. He's not daft. He's not just afraid to fight. I mean, he also does have a fear of fighting. I mean, he is a child at the same time, but he is aware of this latent power, and he is aware of the expectations that people have of him. But at the same time, he's aware of his latent power and what it could do to him. I think it's very bland to say that he doesn't want to fight because he's a pacifist. It's not as simple as the fact that he just wants to be a pacifist. I mean, he's clearly someone who's evil. I don't think it's a case of expectations. I think that's very lazy to say that. I think this is another one of those takes where it's just being very vague, and you're trying to paint over a lot of other things where they've been explored previously. I mean, to say this, you're ignoring all the previous sagas and all the exposition and foreshadowing that's been before this.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think, in defense of the guy, the main point he's trying to get at is the fact that he doesn't go all out when he could easily defeat Cell, which I can see his point. Maybe the bit about him saying there was an expectation to perform and that's why he didn't go all out. Yeah, I don't agree with that. But also, I kind of see where he's coming from. Because, like you said, he did go all out against Frieza and Dodoria and Ginyu and all the rest. And he doesn't straight away for Cell. Even though he does see Cell beforehand, even though he goes into the time chamber for a year with Goku, he still doesn't just fight him full power straight away. I can see that point. Why doesn't he? I think that's the main thing he's going for here. And yeah, you kind of summed it up. You know, he doesn't want to go all out in case it kind of takes over him. But also, I can see this point where he's saying, well, yeah, maybe, but it hasn't happened the other time, so why not just beat Cell and then see what happens afterwards?
But I mean, at the same time, he's a child.
Yeah.
Like there's this giant monster. Think of the time Krillin was blown up by Frieza. What happened to Gohan? He was frozen in terrified fear.
Yeah.
What happened when Nappa was punched towards him and it was expected for Gohan to finish him off? He was terrified. It's not unnecessary of him expectation to perform. It's the expectation. It's the fact that he's a child and he's scared.
Yeah.
He's not a grown adult like Goku, who's been fighting his entire life. He also doesn't enjoy fighting. Goku's in there. He's fighting. He loves it. He lives for it. Gohan doesn't. He's a pacifist. He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't enjoy fighting.
Yeah.
To him, fighting isn't a love.
No.
He's a child and he's scared. I mean, it doesn't. I think it's strange to ignore that and to not think of every single time Gohan has been scared in the past. To see every single time he's been exposed to a situation where he's been terrified, and there are plenty of them throughout the series, and it just demonstrates that when he snaps, you see it in Gohan, and and you see him snap against Cell, and when he does, he's a demon.
Yeah.
Like he literally embraces it and he loves it, and he toys with Cell, and he gets people killed, and he loves it, and that's why I don't like to take, because he does. But prior to that, before he snaps, before the power goes, he's a kid.
Yeah.
And he's scared. He doesn't understand his power. He knows it's there, but he doesn't really know how to tap it. Goku's been trying to explain it to him. He's been trying to bring it out of him in hyperbolic, and he's been trying to show him, trying to train him, but telling him and experience is two different things. To him, he's just Gohan. It's just me.
Yeah. You've got to remember as well, like you mentioned it, he is a child. He's like, how old? 12, 13 during the Cell Saga. And you know what you're like at that age. You tell a kid to do something, they're going to do the opposite. You say, Gohan, go fight. He's like, no, don't want to. But yeah, you kind of summed it up really well, and it echoes all of my thoughts as well. Like, you see him throughout the series, from the very beginning that he's introduced, really, that he is a scholar. And, you know, Chi-Chi has really drilled that into him to study and to work hard. And every time he's trying, he kind of gets forced away by Goku to fight. You know, he goes to Namek, which I guess they thought at the time that this is going to be a peaceful thing. Let's just go get the Dragon Balls, come back home, job done. Obviously, that doesn't work out. And when he's there, he's scarred for life by seeing multiple people die. He sees his only kind of friend, I guess at this point, Krillin, explode in front of him. And yeah, it's not fun for him. It doesn't have a good time. And during the Cell Saga, again, you know, he kind of just wants to relax and he doesn't want to be involved. And it does take his friends being beat up, but it's not like he's not getting involved. He is getting involved. He isn't going completely full power because he is scared, like you mentioned. And yeah.
And he doesn't know how to access that power.
Yeah.
You can't just turn it on and off. Because, like, for instance, think of one of the times when he accessed it is when Piccolo picked him up and threw him at a mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he basically was like, protect yourself. I don't know how. Okay, I'm going to launch at a mountain. And he screamed and cried and cried and cried. And then just as he exploded into the power and he accessed it and he chucked his arms out and he blew it up. It's a fight or flight. It's a reactionary take.
Yeah.
And it took the basically 16 made it click, didn't it? And the death of 16 is what finally kind of clicked it. And so it's like it's a switch.
Yeah.
And it always takes something. There has to be a trigger. You can't just choose to access it. That's why it's a latent power and not just a power. If it was a power, it would just be a form that he could turn on and off.
Yeah.
That's why the Super Saiyan 2 transformation is as impressive as it is.
That's incredible.
Otherwise, Super Saiyan 2 would have just been a thing already. That's why it's because there has to be a catalyst. That's the word.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was the catalyst. And so, yeah, going all out, it wasn't just a choice. You can't just choose to turn on Super Saiyan 2 for the very first time of any character in the history of Dragon Ball ever doing it. That's not how it works.
The point. Yeah, he is supposed to do it. Yeah.
Like, yeah, so it's not choosing to go all out. It's a latent power finally being activated.
And also, you've got to remember, if he did just go all out, what type of story is that? You don't see anything. If Gohan just goes, I'll deal with this, bang, Cell's dead in first form before he even transforms or anything, it's like, well, okay, now what?
Yeah, it's just like hold my poncho, whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So he needs reasons, and it makes sense story-wise. And I don't really think anyone has a problem with how it worked out. Like, yeah, everyone knows Gohan is strong. I don't think anyone's really questioned the reason why it takes him so long to kind of power up the way he does. And like you mentioned, it is one of the best moments in Dragon Ball, him turning Super Saiyan 2 for the first time and then defeating Cell. Incredible. And a lot of people think of the Cell arc as the best arc, so I have no complaints. And yeah, I disagree with this take.
Yeah. I think you can't make such a big deal about the legendary Super Saiyan and then there being a form after the legendary Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
And then not having to be a catalyst to activate that.
Exactly, yeah.
That's insane. Like,
yeah,
to him to choose and then just to be able to choose to activate that by going all out. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So no, that's I disagree with it. There needs to be a catalyst, and his foreshadowed catalyst of how many arcs? 3, 4 arcs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That it's been foreshadowed since Raditz.
Yeah.
Since the headbutt of Raditz. Him turning. So that's not lazy writing. That's
progression.
Yeah. That's a culmination of a lot of work. A lot of Piccolo's work as well.
Yeah.
So no, I disagree with the take based on that. I don't think it's lazy writing. I don't think it's poor writing. I think it's the fact it's a kid who doesn't understand his latent power, who isn't a fighter, who he doesn't understand it and he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
He's forced into circumstances and he's forced into a situation that he doesn't understand. And circumstance. It's all a matter of circumstance.
Yeah.
Basically.
I agree. And we're both in agreement. We don't really agree with this take at all. And yeah, I think we've explained pretty well as to why.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a good podcast. It's been the longest one yet so far.
Slightly, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Definitely. So let's wrap it up here. It's been a good one. I've had a lot of good fun discussion in this episode.
Very much so.
So yeah, if you guys also enjoyed it, if you're still listening to this point, then please like up the video. It helps out a lot. And subscribe down below, leave some comments, it helps us out a lot. Go vote in the polls for the Hall of Fame on our social medias. And other than that, we will see you all next time.
See ya.